This is RTV6 News at 7, working for you.
Marion County prosecutors have charged a total of 25 people in connection with recent protests. Thanks for joining us at 7 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins. Prosecutor Ryan Mears' office reviewed 102 cases of people who were arrested but ultimately did not file criminal charges. Today, the prosecutor's office released a list of 7 more people, nearly all from Indianapolis, who were criminally charged in connection with alleged looting and rioting.
You can make a change, and especially it starts within your community, and then you just go spread it wherever you can.
2, 4, 6, 8, stop the violence, stop the hate.
Across the state of Indiana, communities are showing up in a big way for rallies demanding racial equality for all of their neighbors. And young people are some of the ones leading the way, organizing protests, hoping to see our world change for the better. This week, groups in Perry Township and Avon hosted demonstrations focusing on race, diversity, and equality. Attendees watched and listened as their friends of color talked about personal experiences with racism and how the deaths of people like Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor affect them. There was some pushback, but the organizers made it clear they weren't going to let anything stop them from being heard.
People up here telling us, don't come to Avon, don't speak, stay home, stop it. And to those people, I want to tell you something. I want to tell y'all something. Look at the people to your left and to your right. Look at them. Look at the generation right next to you. They think we're going to stop. They want us to stop. But I got to tell you something. This generation will be the last generation to experience what is going on, y'all.
We need to start speaking out and standing up, whether you may be black, white, Hispanic, Asian, wherever you may come from. We need to all stand together against this.
Both protests ended with a moment honoring George Floyd. Right now, many parents are finding themselves wanting to teach their kids about what's going on across the country. Our Kelsey Anderson talked with an expert about the best way to have this sometimes difficult conversation with your kids.
Dr. Renee Aziz says no matter the color of your skin, we all must be intentional when talking about race, racism, and injustices. She says it's important we have these conversations because this is something that affects everyone. Dr. Aziz is a trained school psychologist. She now runs Virtuoso Education Consulting and often helps schools address racial disparities. She says we may not know it or even realize it, but no matter the color of your skin, racism and prejudice impacts everyone. Studies have shown kids from a very young age can see and realize physical differences, and she says that's okay, and we should name those differences. Dr. Aziz says she likes the way Dr. Beverly Tatum describes racism in America.
She describes the impact of racism on all of us kind of like smog. You can think about air pollution. We're all breathing it in. And just like racism and injustice, sometimes that smog is really heavy and visible, but other times it's light and you can barely notice it, but you're still breathing it in.
Dr. Aziz pointed me in the direction of some resources for you and your family to utilize. I'll link those for you over on theindychannel.com. Dr. Aziz says there isn't a perfect age or perfect way to have these conversations, but just starting that dialogue is a step in the right direction. I'm Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
If you happen to be staring at the thermometer today, you saw it rise into the mid-80s, in some spots a little more. The key, though, was the very low humidity. It's at 26% now. Skies are basically clear. They'll be clear tonight. Just want to show you the humidity is not in any hurry to come back. It will rise as we get to next week. Specifically, I'd say Tuesday through Thursday becomes a bit more humid, but that's also when the temperature jumps up as well. The wind, a lot calmer today, and it will be rather calm tomorrow, 10 miles per hour or so. There are your current temperatures. Lafayette the warmest at 87, 84 in Columbus. During the day tomorrow, temperatures will start at 61 degrees. We'll talk about where they finish and the changes for the week ahead coming up.
Now to the very latest on the COVID-19 and its impact on the Hoosier State. The health department reports 16 more deaths since yesterday. The total number of confirmed cases, 2,214. More than 39,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for the virus. As the state continues to reopen, the pandemic is still having a financial impact on some Hoosier families, especially those who face barriers when it comes to accessing fresh local food. Tonight, our Nicole Griffin is on the Northeast Side, where a local outreach group is working together to help families in need put food on the table.
Cars started lining up here at ML and Trip Outreach on North Sherman Drive at 10 o'clock this morning for a 2 p.m. food giveaway. And tonight, 500 local families are going home with a box full of healthy food.
My husband and I were talking, and we were like, okay, so the line is going to get shorter and shorter, but every week it gets longer and longer.
Driving into the parking lot at ML and Trip Mentoring Outreach Center after waiting for hours are local families who need help feeding their children. As the pandemic continues, LaShawna Triplett says the most common call to their crisis hotline comes from people asking about food assistance. Through a partnership with McFarling Foods, the first 500 families on Friday received a 50-pound box full of donated food.
It shows the community or just people who are scared to try to reach out to folks that we're just like you. They're just like you. We're all alike. And just because you're having a hard time figuring out your grocery bill, your light bill, whatever it may be, it should be no judgment. It doesn't matter.
We have been able to help with rental assistance to stop homelessness because, again, we don't want a ricochet effect, like a snowball effect. We've been able to help with utility assistance. We've provided, on top of doing weekly food drives, we also been able to provide gift cards for groceries.
The Central Indiana Community Foundation awarded ML and Trip Mentoring Outreach Center more than $31,000 to help with their response to the COVID-19 crisis. The money is also allowing them to staff their crisis hotline, help with virtual tutoring, transportation, and delivery services. Working for you, Nicole Griffin, RTV6.
With the grant money, ML and Trip Outreach has also been able to help families without insurance to pay for their medicine. The food from today's food box giveaway is from a partnership with McFarling Foods. WRTV is teaming up with Kroger and Second Helpings to get meals into the hands of those who are struggling during this pandemic. Starting Monday through June 21st, whenever you shop at select Central Indiana Kroger stores, you can round up your grocery bill or select a donation amount of your choice when you check out. That amount will go directly to Second Helpings. WRTV and the Scripps Howard Foundation will match up to $12,000 in donations. You can find out more at your Kroger store or at theindychannel.com/feedinghoosiers. Times and tones are changing. Coming up next, find out how the Black Lives Matter movement has Band-Aid working on a new product line.
Make a donation or volunteer today.
This is RTV6 News at 7, working for you.
Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin could receive more than $1 million in pension benefits during his retirement years, even if he is convicted of killing George Floyd. Chauvin has been the subject of national outrage since last month when footage emerged of him kneeling on Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes as Floyd begged him to stop. Chauvin was quickly fired from the department and charged with second-degree murder. But Chauvin still stands to benefit from a pension partially funded by taxpayers. A number of states allow for the forfeiture of pensions for employees convicted of felony crimes related to their work, but this is not the case in Minnesota. 44-year-old Chauvin would remain eligible to file for his pension as early as age 50. Starbucks has quickly reversed a decision that would have prohibited its baristas from wearing apparel supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. The company publicly supports Black Lives Matter on its social media channels and in a press release, but sent an internal memo to employees saying baristas cannot do the same. That was reversed in a tweet today that read, quote, "We trust you to do what's right." Another corporation has joined the list of those making Juneteenth a company holiday. Nike is adding June 19th to its list of official paid holidays. Nike's CEO made the announcement in a letter to employees this week. The move is just one part of the company's plans to acknowledge nationwide demonstrations calling for racial justice. Juneteenth, by the way, honors the day in 1865 when Union soldiers announced the news of the Emancipation Proclamation to enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas. Band-Aid is launching diversified bandages for different skin tones to, quote, embrace the beauty of diverse skin. The company says they listen to customers and the black community and are dedicated to inclusivity. Historically, the company has sold bandages ranging from clear to medium in color. Band-Aid also said it will make a donation to Black Lives Matter. Its parent company, Johnson & Johnson, pledged $10 million to fight systemic racism and injustice earlier this month. The COVID-19 pandemic has certainly been stressful for a lot of people, but is it responsible for a rising in eating disorders? We'll find out next. Kevin.
We'll dial back the temperatures as we go through the weekend, but you can't hold the heat off forever. It is June, after all. We'll have the details for next week as well, coming up.
Contact Culligan, the local water experts.
Months of isolation and social distancing have taken its toll on Americans, but for the 30 million struggling with eating disorders, that stress can make them especially vulnerable. Mental health experts say social distancing enters its 4th month here. They've seen a dramatic spike in people seeking assistance. Ashra Qureshi reports.
Growing up in a conservative South Texas family, Eric Dorsa says not fitting a stereotypical masculine identity drove him into a dangerous relationship with food.
I developed an eating disorder as a way to cope with emotions and thoughts and feelings about myself that I couldn't express as a child.
13 years into recovery, it's still a battle.
It was the hardest thing I've ever done. It is like a giant car crash going off in the middle of your life, and you have no choice but to deal with it.
Dr. Ellen Astrachan Fletcher is the clinical director of the Eating Recovery Center in Chicago. The International Center treats eating disorders like anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating.
Does this pandemic and the isolation contribute to worsening difficulties with eating disorders? Absolutely, 100%.
She says for millions suffering from eating disorders, the months-long lockdowns and isolation from support systems is amplifying the problem. With grocery stores not stocking certain products, experts say that could be a trigger for people who need that normal routine and those specific food brands to help keep them on their recovery track.
The reality is we have to be flexible in this time because due to the pandemic, things are not what we expect.
People turning to food for comfort and social media messaging about weight gain are not helping.
When someone starts engaging with an eating disorder, they tend to isolate, and that feeds the eating disorder. So the isolation and pushing loved ones away is one way the eating disorder grows.
The National Eating Disorders Association says it has seen a 74% increase in calls to their helpline during the pandemic as compared to the same time last year.
Even though sometimes it feels like we're alone, you don't have to be. And there are lots of people here to be there with you.
Dr. Astrachan Fletcher says it's important to seek professional help. Take a friend or family member with you when you go to the grocery store and set up virtual online dates for meal times or snack breaks. Eric Dorsa, now 13 years into recovery, says it's important to find your helpers.
You're not alone, and you're enough just as you are. You don't have to show up any other way other than with what you have, and let people help you find the next steps for you.
Reporting from Chicago, I'm Ashra Qureshi.
It's been colorful the last couple of days. The grass is green, the sky is blue with just a few fair weather cumulus clouds dotting the landscape. That will be the trend as we go into the weekend as well. Temperatures, they're in the 80s, 84 in Plainfield. Temperature in Indianapolis today hit 84 for the high. There are spots that were in the upper 80s, but without a lot of humidity. It is still in the upper 80s in Evansville. You want to see the shocking change? What happens when the wind comes off of Lake Michigan? Look at Gary. They're at 59. If you're standing at the lakeshore right now, you're dressed a little differently than you would be in Terre Haute at 86 degrees. Wow. All right, for us, dry. There may be an exception to this with a couple of sprinkles, and that would be Sunday morning southwest of Indy. Let me take you, this is Saturday night now at 11. We'll play this through the overnight hours, and you'll see a few of the green specks there. I'm just kind of showing you this. I think it might be overdoing it. The air is fairly dry. It's really dry, actually. So I don't think that's much of a threat, but I just point that out into early Sunday morning. Otherwise, weekend should be like this. Cool mornings, 50s. Sunday will be the coolest morning, and then we'll get into mild afternoons with plenty of sunshine. So whatever outdoor activities you have, you've got a green light. A few more clouds tomorrow because of a backdoor cold front. And what do I mean by backdoor? Instead of coming from the west, it'll actually come from the northeast and slide south into the state. That will change the wind direction or keep it out of the northeast and deliver a nice cool, crisp morning on Sunday, 52 degrees. There are the low temperatures. As we go to Monday, we're still in the lower 50s. By the end of next week, low temperatures will be closer to 70. 76, your modest Saturday high. A little warmer south where that cooler air doesn't quite reach it. Terre Haute and Bloomington. Still cool on Sunday after that morning start with more clouds, especially southwest of Indy. Then it becomes mostly sunny for just about everywhere else. There are your temperatures, cooler everywhere. We should stay in the 70s, all of central Indiana. Next week, we jump to 84 Tuesday, 87 on Wednesday. We're still holding off on any threat for thunderstorms probably until Thursday and Friday. That's when our thunderstorm threat will increase along with the humidity. You'll notice that in temperatures in the middle to upper 80s. Hopefully, you have time to get out and enjoy the weekend and you don't have to just mow the lawn. You can do some other stuff. We'll be back in just a little bit with more.
You even have to leave your house.
Twitter wants you to double check that you understand your own tweets. They're testing a feature with Android users right now. If you try to tweet an article link that Twitter detects you haven't opened, you might see a prompt asking if you'd like to open that link before posting. Twitter says this is part of their ongoing efforts to crack down on misinformation. The company also says the prompt might help spark more informed discussions by making sure the poster is fully aware of its content. The coronavirus has put the brakes on delivery for some new cars. Usually makers would be pushing their 2021 models right now, but industry experts say at least 24 models that were planned for the coming months will debut a little later. About half of those won't be available until well into next year. Production was slowed because of the virus, both due to the shutdowns and lower demand from dealerships. The town of Zionsville is closing down its historic Main Street one night each week this month, but folks are more than welcome to come up and enjoy a party that's popped up in its place. Brad Brown shows us how it all came together.
When dining out turns into a night on the town, Zionsville has got it all set up for a proper party.
We immediately at the town called the chamber and said, let's partner on this, and the town council, and it was terrific. I mean, all of these folks just pulled together and said, well, we'll figure out the logistics and make it happen.
A night on the bricks is Zionsville's way of getting together and taking care of their own. Main Street is the heartbeat of this town.
We have a competitive advantage with the brick street, and I think everybody loves it and they want to show it off and have an opportunity to bring people even outside of Zionsville, and we all dig in and help each other.
This Main Street bricks, the community of business owners who have something unique to share with our community and the communities around us, this is a defining aspect of our town.
With a few tables in place, Thursdays are being set aside for people to take their takeout out for the evening.
You know, we're thrilled that we're able to get outside tonight and show the community, you know, that there's a community here that loves our restaurants and our retailers.
Many of these restaurants have been getting by on carryout only for the past several weeks. Town officials even put special takeout parking spots in place.
From the very beginning, the first thing we wanted to do is what can we do immediately to make it easier for our residents to do business with our business owners.
But now, seeing some smiles in the seats feels like a big step forward.
It has been wonderful. I mean, it's kind of, it was going well, but we were getting to a point where this is not what we signed up for. We are not people who stay behind closed doors. We talk to people. We are people persons, and it's been great.
Socially distant, but making it a social function. It may feel a bit different, but another example of a community coming together.
At the end of the day, this is going to be a place where people want to support those restaurants and retailers because they love their neighbors, and this really is a show of support for neighbor helping neighbor.
This is a perfect event for customers as much as it is for us to see people again.
Working for you in Zionsville, Brad Brown, RTV6.
Well, organizers are hoping to add live music in the coming weeks as Indiana moves to Phase 4 and Phase 5 of the governor's Back on Track plan. For now, the Thursday party is only on the calendar for the next few weeks, but it could last all through the summer if demand remains high. Kevin, looks like a lot of fun out there.
Perfect sunshine shining on the bricks in Zionsville. All 92 counties in Indiana had a beautiful day today. Tomorrow, just a few more clouds. Temperatures will be a little cooler, 76 the high. Martin.
All right, we want to thank you for joining us here on RTV6 News at 7. We're back with you tonight at 11. Until then, have a great evening.